Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we are doing something different with the seasons all coming to an end across all of the English footballing leagues from the Premier League to League 2. We are going to throw all 92 clubs into one singular tournament here and see who is the best English club. Will the league leaders from like Arsenal, Coventry City, Bromley, who won the league in League 2, honestly, who won the league in League 1? Was it Lincoln? Yes, it was Lincoln. Will they be able to outcome and be the best teams, or will we get an upset from somebody like Barrow, who finished rock bottom and essentially finished 92nd out of the EFL and Premier Leagues? So how we are going to do it is we are going to seed it. There was multiple ways to seed it. We could either seed it from what they finished in their leagues, from the Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2. We could seed it from the win percentage and just do the win percentage from how many games they won to games played. Obviously, there's an 8-game differential from the Premier League and the other EFL leagues. We could have done it from goal difference. Realistically, we could have done it points per game, average points per game. There's all things that I kind of just had it out. We could have just done it from overall in the actual FC game. What we have done is just seeded it of how they finished in the league, essentially with the Premier League being the highest tier, in League 2 obviously being the lowest tier of these four leagues. So it's Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, in which way they ordered in that place. So Arsenal is obviously your first seed out of all 92, seeing as they won the Premier League, the highest league, the best league in all of England. And then when we get down to 21st, getting down to the end of the Premier League, 21st is Coventry, who won the championship. Now, obviously, Hull City finished 6th in the championship, but they also got promoted. That doesn't mean anything in here. Sheffield Wednesday, who had an 18-point deduction, they still would have been rock bottom of the league, even with those 18 points added back onto them. In fact, that's actually what they had in the league. They only had 18 points, winning 2 games. Obviously, for bracket play, you have to have it being in a factor of 2, so we can't have 92 clubs because that is not a power of 2. So it's either really 32, 64, and we chop out 28 teams, or we go all the way up to 128, which is the next one from 64 to 128. We go up to there and we add 36 buys. So we just went ahead and did the top 36 clubs. So the Premier League plus the top 16 of the championship all got a buy into the next round. And so as you can see here, this is how the bracket kind of looks like at the moment here. I will maybe put a full list into a spreadsheet, and then that way you can go look at that, like all the matches played in the round of 128 all the way to the finals here to figure out the best team in England. But like Arsenal obviously have a bye. They'll play the winner of Leyton Orient versus Exeter, 2 League 1 matchups there. Bristol get a bye. They finish in the top 16 of the championship. So did Sheffield United, so did Nottingham Forest, obviously finishing in the Premier League. Tottenham got a bye. Brighton got a bye. I think it stopped, if I'm not mistaken, at Watford, who finished 16th. So yeah, Watford is technically the last team to get a bye. Everybody else there is going to face off against each other. So the first matchup here is Exeter versus Leyton Orient. Here you can see here we already went ahead and advanced all the buys automatically. I just did this on my off camera, just on my off time. We're just going to battle it out and see who the best team is. We already have some matchups for round 2. So like Bristol City is going to be taking on Sheffield United. Norwich is taking on Watford. These are some championship battles. Swansea versus Preston. We have Birmingham versus QPR. I'm pretty sure there is no full Prem matchups yet, and there won't be any full Prem matchups until maybe round 4, the round of 16, possibly round of 32. So let's get into it. It is Leyton Orient versus Exeter up first. And first up, it is Leyton Orient versus Exeter City. The first team in a matchup to go through is Leyton Orient on a 4-2 win in 120 minutes. Connolly opened up the scoring, quickly equalized, and then Warham took the lead in the 85th minute. Exeter City were only 5 minutes away from going into the next round, taking on Arsenal, but Ballard with a quick equalizer. It moved to extra time, where Craig and Connolly both scored, giving Leyton Orient that 4-2 win. And well, we have our first round 2 matchup of the day. It will be Leyton Orient versus Arsenal. Next up, we have a cross league battle. League 1 versus League 2. It's Bolton versus Colchester, and the better team comes ahead. Bolton go ahead and pick up a 2-1 win over Colchester despite going down 1-0 in the first 5 minutes. They held on, and well, Bolton are moving on, and they'll be taking on Nottingham Forest in the next round. Next up is Bradford versus Walsall, and Bradford come out with a 2-0 win, a clean sheet. Bobby Poynton and Swan on the score sheet for Bradford City, and then calmly giving them absolutely zero chance for Walsall to come back into the game with a 76-minute red card, putting the smallest hopes that they maybe had into absolutely nothing. And Bradford City will move on to the round of 64. Is Salford versus Blackpool. Blackpool being in League One, Salford being in League Two, and well, of course, the favorites are winning. There hasn't been a single upset yet. All the winners have been rightfully so winners, at least through the different leagues. So obviously, the higher leagues are taking all the wins at the moment, as Blackpool will be now taking on Premier League side Brighton. That'll give them a good chance to upset them as well. Unlikely, but a chance at least. We have our first championship side here taking on a League Two side, Blackburn Rovers versus Tranmere. This would be the biggest upset of the day, and really the only upset of the day to happen yet, but no, it won't happen. Gudhansen goes ahead and has a brace in the second half, followed quickly. Started by Tronstad in the 7th minute. We're getting very early goals here so far. A lot of goals in the first 10 minutes, but Blackburn Rovers will move on. They'll be taking on other championship side Middlesbrough, who got into the final, were gifted the final of the EFL Championship playoffs, obviously, after the Southampton Spygate stuff, and so now we move on with them going on through as well. And Notts County versus Reading. Will we see our first upset, or will the higher league continue on? No, our first upset has finally happened. Notts County from League 2 taking down a League 1 side. Hall, Irapenda, and Dennis all on the score sheet. And we say goodbye to Reading, and we say hello to our first upset of the day. And they get rewarded by taking on Brentford. And next up on the chopping block, it's close to the very bottom, second to last, Newport County taking on West Brom, who got relegated. Did they get relegated? Did they get relegated? I don't know. No, they survived relegation. Yeah, never mind. They survived relegation. They got point deduction, but that didn't really affect them too much. Johnston, Grant, and Hegebo all on the score sheet as we say goodbye. I expected this one, West Brom, to move on against the 91st place team in this competition, and we say goodbye to Newport County. I'm dumb. Newport County wasn't the second worst team. I was thinking about Harrogate Town, but they still were down there. They're very close to the bottom, 88th out of the 92 in the Football League. And next up, we have Burton versus Northampton. Burton versus Northampton, and Burton Albion move past Northampton. And we say goodbye to Northampton as Burton Albion move on to the next round of this playoff. Swindon Town versus Pie Faces, Plymouth Argyle, and we get our first penalty shootout here as Plymouth Argyle move on to the next round. How did this take fold? Nothing happened in the first half besides a yellow card for Swindon. Kane opened up the scoring just minutes after the second half started. Nicholas and Kilkenny went ahead and scored and then took the lead for Swindon Town, but that was quickly stopped by Tolage in the 87th. Nothing happened in the first half. Nothing happened in the second half of extra time, so 30 minutes was essentially wasted there. Swindon Town missed the first penalty, and well, Plymouth Argyle simply didn't miss a single penalty. It went 4 for 4, where Swindon Town went 2 for 4 and got knocked out. In Plymouth Argyle make it to the next round where they'll be taking on Premier League side Everton. They took down Liverpool recently in the FA Cup, not this last season, but the season before that, the season that Liverpool won the league. They took down Liverpool in that league in the FA Cup. Now they're taking on the other Mary side and trying to take them down in this playoff central battle. Accrington Stanley versus the League One winners. And well, the League One winners held on. It was a very nervy end to the game. Madden missing a penalty in the 76th minute, scoring the 89th. If he would have made that penalty, this could have been a different story and they could have went to extra time. But League One winners with 103 points in their league play this season move on by the skin of their teeth to the next round of the playoffs. from League 1 winners now to the League 2 winners, and they'll be taking on a team. They'll be taking on in League 1, so how will you match up against a team you're soon to face off? And, well, you get humbled. A 3-1 win for the League 1 side, and we say goodbye to our first league winner. Bromley is out of this playoff battle. They get knocked out by Wigan Athletic in a 3-1 fashion, with Pinnock the only goal scorer for Bromley. And so, the worst team out of the 92 in the footballing pyramid in the footballing league here in England, it's Bodo versus championship side Stoke. Can they do it in a cold night in Stoke? The answer is no. We say goodbye to the worst team of all of the footballing league in England, with Stoke City moving on barely by the skin of their teeth. A 78th minute winner from Rigo is enough to get them, and they missed a penalty in the 20th minute for Bodo. They could have taken the lead and set the tone for the game, but championship side Stoke move on. They'll be taking on fellow championship side Derby County. It's Barnet versus Huddersfield, and Huddersfield move on. It went to the extra time, but a Charles brace there after coming on in the 70th minute is enough to get Huddersfield into the next round, and the better team prevails once more. AFC Wimbledon versus Port Vale, both League 1 battles, and well, Port Vale come out on top on a penalty shootout. Stockley opened up the scoring for them in the 39th, an 88th minute equalizer for AFC Wimbledon coming from Hippolyte, and then nothing happened in the 30 minutes of extra time, and a penalty shootout was one to forget for Wimbledon for sure. They missed their first 3 penalties. To be fair, they might not have given up after the first one because both sets missed their first penalty, but AFC Wimbledon just couldn't score until it was too late. Shipley, Ojo, and Byers all scoring for Port Vale, where Brown is the only goal scorer for Wimbledon. And we say goodbye to AFC Wimbledon, which is essentially actually the better team because Wimbledon did finish higher above than Port Vale, not by much, only by a couple of spots. And while Port Vale's reward for taking down Wimbledon, they get second place Premier League side Manchester City. Another League 1 versus League 2 battle here. Stevenage versus Crewe, and Crewe win. So Crewe caused an upset here against Stevenage. It's March, August, and March all on the score sheet. And Crewe Alexandria move on to the next round. No, never mind. No, that's right. They went in the playoffs and they lost to Bolton, so they had the chance to move up, but they got absolutely hammered by Bolton in the playoff finals. And while Bristol Rovers also caused another upset, it's back-to-back upsets. It's back-to-back League 2 teams taking down League 1 sides, and this is a bigger upset as well than the last round because Stockport County were literally 90 minutes away from being in the championship, where Bristol Rovers, one of the worst teams in all of this video, only 10 spots off of them from being rock bottom. And well, we say goodbye to a playoff contending team of League 1. And now a team that did get promoted through their league from League 2 to League 1. They went straight down to League 2, straight back up to League 1. It's Chesnoy's Cambridge United. Can Lewis Apre lead the line to get them into the next round? And actually, the answer is yes. Despite going down to 10 men in the 52nd minute, they were down 1-0 at that point, but that actually made them better, scoring 2 after that and shutting down Doncaster. And Cambridge United move on to the next round, and that is essentially another upset. It's another League 2 team essentially beating a League 1 side, although both of them are going to be in League 1 next season, with Cambridge United showing that they are willing to compete with these higher up teams of the footballing pyramid. They'll be taking on Sunderland in the next round. Now this is the correct one. Is Charlton versus Crawley Town. Championship versus League 2, and while championship prevails, Charlton Athletic move on to the next round. Wickham versus Chesterfield here today, and it's Wickham who move on. Adema, Harris, and Woodrow all on the score sheet. If I could speak English properly here, I haven't been recording that long. It's about to get a lot longer for me because we're going from 28 matches to 32 in the next round that I actually have to simulate here. So next up, Oxford United versus Shrewsbury. Oxford United, who finished in that last spot for relegation, the one that was closest to surviving it, and well, despite getting down relegated, the hopes are still alive here as they move past Shrewsbury and will stay alive in this tournament. Peterborough versus Rotherham, both League One sides, and well, Peterborough on a penalty shootout went ahead and got it there, where Jules took the lead for Rotherham in the 24th minute. It's another late equalizer here for Peterborough as they equalized in the 86th minute, and then again, nothing happening in the 30 minutes of extra time. And then the penalty shootout, it was toe-to-toe. It was make until McWilliams missed the fifth and final penalty for Rotherham United, and Collins was able to step up for Peterborough and put them into the next round, where they get rewarded with third place Manchester United. Luton Town, who went from zero to glory back to really zero again. They were taking on Oldham Athletic in a 4-2 win, our biggest scoreline of the day since the first matchup. A 4-2 win for Luton Town. They move on to the round of 64. Fleetwood Town versus Cardiff City, and Fleetwood Town caused a massive upset, 1-1 on the day, where everything happened in the first half, and after that, it was a mere blur into a penalty shootout in which Fleetwood Town was able to hold their cool, hold their clutch, and we say goodbye to a team that just got promoted up to the championship as well in Cardiff City. And will Barnsley, the Cardiff City, 40, yeah, no, they had to. They finished second in League One. They obviously got promoted. Yeah. MK Dons versus Barnsley, a team everybody hates versus, well, Barnsley, and well, the team everybody hates moves on to the next round. MK Dons are going to advance to the next round, taking down Barnsley in an upset. And here is the second worst team here of this video, Harrogate Town, who finished 91st, and they say goodbye to them in the first matchup here against Portsmouth, a 2-1 win, where all the action happened in that first half. Or second half, I should say. Mansfield versus Grimsby Town. I just put on the thing Grimsby, but thankfully we don't have to see that mistake anymore. It's Mansfield taking down Grimsby Town, and we say goodbye to Grimsby. Last matchup of this first round, we have a team that won the Premier League 10 years ago to this date. Now we'll be playing League One football next season. It's Leicester City versus Cheltenham Town, and Leicester City with the 83rd minute winner from Didakor Reed move on to the next round, where they'll be taking on Ipswich. And so here is how your top 64, your round of 64 is shaping up to be. We say hello to the top 36 teams now. All Premier League sides are now up to grab and up to be, starting off with Leyton Orient. They'll be taking on the league winners of the Premier League, Arsenal. We have Bristol versus Sheffield, literally interchangeable spot within the championship here. We have Nottingham Forest versus Bolton, Tottenham versus Bradford, Brighton versus Blackpool is a pretty big matchup, Brentford versus Notts County, a pretty point differential or position differential matchup there as well. Liverpool, Derby, these guys don't have a team yet, but they do. I don't know why it's not showing up to it, but they definitely have. Hold on. And so here we go. There is teams. Liverpool taking on Wigan, Derby, Stoke, Newcastle, Sheffield, Man City taking on Port Vale, Sheffield Wednesday taking on Coventry is there, Bournemouth, MK Dons. Then we have Ipswich versus Leicester City. So let's get down to the top 32. Will there be any big upsets, or will the top teams just march on and continue to being the best teams of all of league football? Arsenal versus Leyton Orient, and Arsenal move on, but they only scrape by Leyton Orient, the best team of the footballing league here in England. Move on by the skin of their teeth, where maybe that red card kind of settles things down for Arsenal, and Arsenal will move on to the round of 32. They are your first team through, and they continue to be your top seed. And two teams that are separated by literally 2 points from each other is Sheffield United versus Bristol City, probably the closest matchup we will have yet into maybe later on. And Sheffield United, with the 87th minute winner, will move them on to the next round, where they'll be gifted a trip to the Arsenal and taking on the Premier League winners, Sheffield United. Technically caused an upset, even though it's not too much of an upset. There's only 2 points in it, and well, Sheffield United move on to the next round. It's Bolton versus League One, or not League One. It's League One versus Premier League from Nottingham Forest against Bolton and Hove Albion. Bolton, Hove Albion. Why do I keep thinking that's Brighton? Don't know, but Nottingham Forest move on to the next round. Igor Jesus opening up the scoring in the first minute. Milinkovic in the 65th. Hutchinson in the 93rd, and then Gibbs White in the 108 is enough to take down the League One side. And well, Nottingham Forest took extra time, but they move on to the next round. Tottenham Hotspur, who survived relegation on the final day of the Premier League, they get knocked out to League One side Bradford City, a sight we all love to see. And well, how did this unfold? It started with Bradford City taking a lead late on into the first half, where Paulina quickly, within the first minute of the second half, equalized in. It was actually Paulina's goal who kept them alive in the Premier League this season as well. Jed Spence took the lead for Tottenham in the 76th minute, and maybe they thought that was it. Maybe they thought they could cruise, but no. Humphreys, who scored late in the first half, scored late in the second half here, pushed it to extra time. Kolumuani is the only interesting thing that happened in the 30 minutes of extra time, where he got injured in the 92nd, and well, it took the penalty shootout, where Humphreys actually scored 2 goals, but he missed his penalty, giving the advantage to Tottenham. But Pedro Porto and João Paulina both missed their penalties in back-to-back efforts, and well, Bradford City will lights out after the first penalty miss, and Bradford City are your first upset, real upset of the day. League One taking down a Premier League side. It's another Premier League side versus another League One side, but honestly, I have more hope in Brighton this time, and there we go. Brighton Hove Albion move on to the next round, taking down Blackpool. It's an all-championship battle. Middlesbrough got gifted the final in the championship playoffs. Will now take down a pecking order and get moved past by Blackburn Rovers with Alphalon in the 72nd minute, second half, when the 46th minute and the 89th minute is enough to take down Middlesbrough, and Blackburn cause a semi-upset here. Brentford versus Notts County, Premier League versus League Two. It went down to the wire, but in the 86th minute, Kevin Schade scores the winner for the Premier League side, and Brentford move past Notts County by the skin of their teeth. Spygate Southampton, a team that made it to the playoff final, but obviously with the Spygate coming off, they got kicked out by the EFL, and now they will start next season with a 4-point deduction, and more than likely with the manager being banned from all managerial jobs in the FA in England. It's Southampton, though, who move on to the next round with Azaz and Stewart scoring the goals there for Southampton. They take down fellow championship side West Brom. Aston Villa versus Burton Albion. In Aston Villa, your Europa League winners are still running on that high, and they move on to the next round. Norwich versus Watford. It's an all-championship battle here today, and Norwich get the win and into the next round. Plymouth Argyle versus Everton. It's a Merseyside battle again. It's not really a Merseyside battle, but it's Plymouth Argyle trying to take down another Merseyside battle after they took down Liverpool 2 years ago in the FA Cup. And while Everton got the get back for their fellow Merseyside team, and Everton move on to the next round. Lincoln City League One winners versus Premier League bottom barrel Wolves. Who will move on? When we say goodbye to our second league winners, I can only assume yes. And the answer is yes. But it wasn't as close cut as I thought it was going to be. And cutthroat, I should say. It was a 1-1 equalizer in the 120 minutes, but then Lincoln City simply did not score a penalty, and Wolves, by the skin of their teeth on a penalty shootout, which was essentially easy for them, move on to the next round, and we are now down 50% of your league winners across all 4 leagues. Only Coventry City and Arsenal yet to play, and well, we haven't even talked about Coventry City yet as well, but they're coming up shortly. It's Liverpool versus Wigan Athletic, and Liverpool by the skin of their teeth. Well, not really. It was an 88th minute kind of consolation goal for Wigan Athletic. Liverpool, move on. Derby County versus Stoke City in an all-league battle here. And, well, it went the distance, and my lord, did it go the distance. A massive penalty shootout in a 2-2 affair where both teams were settled in the first half and the second half. So again, another 30 minutes where it wasn't substantial. The only thing that happened was a double yellow carded red card for Ward, which gave Stoke City the advantage going into it, and well, they took the advantage in going to where they don't really have the advantage anymore. A penalty shootout in which it looked like they made every single penalty. In fact, it was literally make for make until Clark missed the final penalty shootout of the day, in which afforded Stoke City to move on past Derby County 8-7 on a penalty shootout. Newcastle United versus Huddersfield, and Newcastle United move on a 3-0 win. Now, in terms of league placements, this is obviously not the biggest of differentials, but in terms of point differential, there won't be a single higher one. 95-point differential between Coventry City and Sheffield Wednesday, and they're both playing in the same league. The top of the championship to bottom of the barrel, Sheffield Wednesday, who's been riddled with point deductions after administration. They ended up the season on 0 points, which was an achievement in totality. In fact, they'll go next season without any point deduction after new owners taking over the club and rectifying the situation, and so they can start next season in League One on a clean slate, which is best news for Sheffield Wednesday fans. However, now they are taking on your championship winners. It's your last league winners that we have yet to play in the round of 32. Obviously, Arsenal made it through. The other two are out already. Will Coventry City have that same fate? They will go out to Sheffield Wednesday, the worst team. Realistically, ideologically, the worst team of all of the 92 teams if you want to go off a point, but the worst team of the championship take down the best team in the championship, and we have one league winner left standing, and that is the Premier League winners Arsenal. Sheffield Wednesday keep going on. That is realistically maybe your biggest upset yet. It's second place Manchester City versus Port Vale of League One in a 2-1 win. Foden coming off in the 45th minute, and the Niners instantly scoring as well. And well, Manchester City move on to the next round. Swansea versus Preston. Who will move on? It will be Preston who caused the slight upset there in Preston. We say goodbye to Swansea City. Crystal Palace versus Crew Alexandria, and Crew Alexandria League 2 side taking down Crystal Palace in a penalty shootout where everything was settled in the first 90 minutes. Of course, Kamada missing a penalty, and then Sars and Hughes both missing their penalty. And well, Crew Alexandria caused a massive upset. Bristol Rovers versus West Ham. Will we say goodbye to another Premier League side? Yes, we will. Another League 2 side taking down another Premier League side. Lockyer in the 78th minute is enough to get the job done. And we say goodbye to another Premier League side in Crystal Palace and West Ham, which nearly had a matchup. It will be a League 2 matchup of Crew Alexandria versus Bristol Rovers instead. Sunderland, will we say goodbye to another Premier League side? No, we will not. Sunderland rectify the Premier League's mistakes, and they take down League 2 side Cambridge United. Goodbye, Cambridge. Hello, Sunderland. Continuing on. Charlton Athletic go through Hull City. We say goodbye to y'all, and Charlton Athletic move on to the next round of the playoffs. It's Chelsea versus Wickham, the battle of the Blues here. Will Chelsea move on? Yes, despite their own problems with the end of their season, not having any European football for next season, despite having the biggest chances for it, with up to 8 teams being in European football next season in the Premier League. Chelsea are not one of them. And somebody who also got snubbed out of international duty, João Pedro, the Brazilian, that probably should be there with the Brazilian camp, but Neymar kind of begged his way in. Well, the Brazilian Federation forced Ancelotti's hands for Neymar, who's injured, and Chelsea move on to the next round. Mill versus Oxford United, and well, Mill move on. It was a double first half yellow card for Doughty, but that wasn't enough for Oxford United. Millwall battled through it, scored 2 in the second half, and won 3-1, and will move on to face off against Chelsea. Peterborough versus Manchester United. Michael Carrick got his team back in order, and well, they will continue on here as well, taking down Peterborough 3-0. QPR versus Birmingham City ended in a penalty shootout here, 1-1 on the day, and it all happened within the first 40 minutes. After that, it went 0. It went quiet until a penalty shootout in which QPR opened up by missing their first penalty, and they still managed to win it with Tamaki and is that Dux, who also missed their penalty, and well, QPR move on to the next round. It is Leeds United versus Luton Town. Brandon Aronson, the American, in the 88th minute, stopped this game from being an absolute snooze fest. And to be fair, it was a snooze fest for 87 minutes of the game. But Leeds United move on to the next round of this playoff tournament. Burnley versus Fleetwood Town. And well, the Premier League side that just got relegated back down to the Championship we'll move on to the next round here, taking down Fleetwood Town, and their fairy tale story comes to a quick end. It's Bournemouth versus MK Dons in the 89th minute winner for Evan Nielsen. Bournemouth take the win and move on to the next round. Wrexham versus Portsmouth. Wrexham continued to fairy tale story, almost continued, but they quickly got shut out of the Championship playoffs, denying them from multiple promotions in a row up to the Premier League. And well, they at least take down Portsmouth and move on to the next round. Mansfield versus Fulham in the 80th minute. Raul Jimenez is enough to get not the 3 points, but enough to move on to the next round. Mansfield, we say goodbye to him. The last matchup of the round of 64, it is Leicester City versus Ipswich Town in a penalty shootout will allow Leicester City to move on. Mavididi in the 27th minute, an equalizer in the 86th minute for Matsushima for Ipswich Town, and it went all the way to penalty shootout where Mavididi actually missed his penalty, but Jaden and Taylor missed back-to-back penalties for Ipswich, and Leicester City, who finished 23rd in the league, move on to the round of 32. And well, now here we go. We have your top 32 teams in this tournament. The only league winners out of the 4 league winners that have made it to the 32 is Arsenal. They'll be taking on Championship side Sheffield United. Nottingham Forest are taking on Bradford. Brighton are taking on Blackburn. Brentford are taking on Southampton. Aston Villa taking on Norwich. Everton, Wolves, Liverpool, Stoke. We actually finally have our whole Premier League battle in Everton Wolves there, by the way. Liverpool versus Stoke. That's actually doable for Stoke. Newcastle versus Sheffield Wednesday. Man City versus Preston. Crew Alexandria. Their fairy tale story is still running alongside Bristol Rovers. One of those stories will come to an end in this round. Sunderland versus Charlton. Chelsea versus Millwall. Man United versus QPR. Leeds United versus Burnley. Bournemouth versus Wrexham. And then Fulham versus Leicester City. So without further ado, let's get to the round of 32. Let's knock off 16 more teams and get into the round of 16. Arsenal versus Sheffield United, and it went to a penalty shootout, but the league leaders prevail. Arsenal get the job done on a penalty shootout. How did this unfold? Gabriel scoring the 8th minute, which I can only presume is off of a corner for Arsenal, and then Hammer in the 18th minute equalized for them, and then it went radio silent, of course, all the way into the penalty shootout where Arsenal prove their prowess there first. Yekina, Saka, Eze, Trossard, all scoring 4 penalties. O'Hare and Phillips missing for Sheffield United, and Arsenal continue to be your number 1 seed, and they will march on to the round of 16. Nottingham Forest versus League One side Bradford City. Who will come out on top? It will be Bradford City. They continue marching on, causing upset after upset, and they upset Premier League side Nottingham Forest. And they have a trip in the round of 16 with Arsenal. Blackburn versus Brighton Hove Albion. And I already, in the 81st minute winner for Brighton and Hove Albion in the Premier League side, will make up for Nottingham Forest's mistakes, and they will punch their ticket into the round of 16. It's Brentford versus Southampton, and Brentford will prevail. The Premier League side move on to the next round of this video and into the round of 16. They have a matchup with Premier League side Brighton. Aston Villa versus Norwich. Will their party continue to go on? Yes, it will. Aston Villa 3-1, where things did happen in extra time. And, well, Aston Villa got the job done, and they move on. Premier League sides are starting to prevail here, and as expected, to be completely honest. But, again, there is obviously upsets there. Nottingham Forest being one of them. Will we see more? Probably, more than likely. Wolves versus Everton, your first all-Premier League matchup. And, well, Everton put down the hammer. A 5-0 thrashing. Our biggest win of the day goes to Everton versus Wolves. Ironically, it's a Premier League battle that happened to that. That's interesting to see. Liverpool versus Stoke. Can Stoke get the job done? No. Liverpool prevail. Cody Gakpo in the 60th minute. They move on. In Liverpool, we say goodbye to you. No, Stoke, we say goodbye to you, I should say. Newcastle United versus Sheffield Wednesday. Will the fairy tale continue on? No. Sheffield Wednesday have met their match in its Premier League side. Newcastle United, Volmade, Jolinton, and Anthony Gordon on the score sheet. And Newcastle United will move on to the next round. This would cause the biggest upset. Oh, and it happened! Preston North End take down a man at Chester City. And Preston North End will cause one of the biggest upsets of the day here. It's just championship side. Championship Preston versus Man City. And, well, Preston move on. It's the two worst teams left in this tournament. Bristol Rovers versus Crewe Alexandria. One of them will have a date into the next round, and it will be Crewe Alexandria. They would have had a date with Manchester City, but now it's a more favorable opponent for them in Preston North End. And so the League Two side will move on as your worst team in this tournament left to play. Sunderland versus Charlton Athletic. In the 77th minute, youngster Chris Rigg gets the job done for Sunderland. And they move on to the round of 16. It is Chelsea versus Millwall, and Chelsea move on to the next round in a 3-1 fashion. Manchester United versus QPR. And Man United's rejuvenated second half of the season will continue on here into this tournament as they take down QPR 2-1 and will move on to the round of 16. Leeds United versus Burnley, another all-Premier League battle. And, well, Burnley, the worst of the two, will move on to the next round after Leeds United fall short 3-2, and Burnley are into the round of 16. Wrexham versus Bournemouth, and Bournemouth shut down the Wrexham party in the Premier League side. Move on to the round of 16. Fulham versus Leicester City. The last team will be in the round of 16, and it will be Fulham. We say goodbye to championship side Leicester City, and the Premier League side prevails once more. They took a penalty shootout in which they they made all four, where Decor Reed went ahead and missed his, and then Ramsey also missed for Leicester City. And, well, Fulham are now into the round of 16. We have your round of 16 matchups. And so here are your round of 16 matchups here. It's pretty much all Premier League with a couple of outliers. Kind of like as I expected, especially with them getting a bye into the round of 64 initially anyway here. Arsenal are still your favorites here. They'll be taking on Bradford. Honestly, Arsenal are probably more your favorites than anything now, especially with Man City gone. But Bradford City could cause a big upset. We have Brighton versus Brentford, who is a very close matchup here in the league, in the Premier League. Aston Villa are taking on Everton in another Premier League battle. The third Premier League battle is Liverpool versus Newcastle. We then have Preston North End taking on Crewe Alexandria, who's the worst team left to go here. The only League Two side left to go here. The only only other non-championship or Premier League team left in this. Actually, in fact, Bradford's League One, and never mind. We have another Chelsea versus Sunderland battle here. Man United versus Burnley, and then Bournemouth versus Fulham. So we actually, in fact, only have two matchups that aren't all Premier League teams. In fact, we only have one matchup that doesn't include a Premier League team at all with Preston versus Crewe. It is Arsenal versus Bradford up first, though, in the round of 16 to get into the quarterfinals. It is Arsenal versus Bradford City. Will Arsenal continue to be the favorite? No, they will not. Bradford City knock off Arsenal, and they bottled it. They might have won the league, but they get knocked out here, and Bradford City continue to march on here. I just had a feeling that was going to be happening, didn't I? It is Brighton versus Brentford here today. Who will move on to take on Bradford? It will be Brentford who take down Brighton. And Brentford, the worst of the two, not by far, but Brentford move on to the quarterfinals and have a trip with League One side Bradford. Aston Villa versus Everton Football Club. And Aston Villa, 118 minutes of pure boredom for both sets of fans and the neutral. But Garcia prevails for the Villa fans in the 119th minute, and a 1-0 win is enough for them to get into the quarterfinals. Liverpool versus Newcastle, and Liverpool prevail. Gravenberch, McAllister, and McAllister. Are Liverpool your favorites here? On paper, probably yes, with all the teams left to go. On seed basing, it's actually technically Man United is now your favorites here, but I would have to give the edge, honestly, to Liverpool to now win this entire thing. And while they have a big matchup against Aston Villa in the next round. Crewe Alexandria, will their fairy tale continue, or will Preston's fairy tale continue? It will be Preston North End. It took the extra time, and in fact, it took an 86-minute equalizer for Preston, but we did skip on a penalty shootout. Dobbin and Jebinson on the score sheet as Preston North End win 4-2 against Crewe Alexandria. Chelsea versus Sunderland, and a 111th minute winner for Cole Palmer in Chelsea. They move past Sunderland, and Chelsea are into the round of not anything. It's not the round of anything. It's the quarterfinals. Manchester United versus Burnley. Will Burnley cause an upset? No. Man United move on to the quarterfinals, and they will have a trip against either Bournemouth or Fulham. Bournemouth versus Fulham. Trip here versus Manchester United on the line. 3-3 on the day, 3-0 on a penalty shootout. Bournemouth move on to the quarterfinals here. Nothing happened in the first half. It kicked off in the 51st minute where Raul scored the go-ahead goal essentially for Fulham, but Evan Nielsen said no to that. 81st minute equalizer, and then Krippy Jr. took the lead in the first half of extra time for Bournemouth. King equalized in there. Scott took the lead again for Bournemouth, and Iwobi in the 118th minute equalized, trying to give Fulham the hope for a penalty shootout advancement, and well, they missed all three penalties, and it was the quickest possibly penalty shootout that you can have, and Bournemouth move on, and now they have a trip against Manchester United. And so here are your quarterfinal matchups. We have your top 8 teams of this playoff battle between all 92 league teams in England. Bradford, who took down Arsenal, are now taking on Brentford. We have a big matchup of Aston Villa versus Liverpool, Preston versus Chelsea, and then Manchester United versus Bournemouth. A trip to the Final Four or the semifinals is on the line. First up is Bradford versus Brentford. Will Bradford continue to march on, or will the Premier League side Brentford get Arsenal's trade? And they do get their trade. Bradford City's journey comes to an end here in a dominant fashion for Brentford, a 4-1 win. And well, our first look at actual teams playing. Aston Villa versus Liverpool. This is a bigger matchup, so we will let it play out here. The first or the second of the 4 quarterfinals here. Let's see who comes out on top. Lucas Digne, Morgan Rogers, Douglas Luiz now. Douglas Luiz, Jadon Sancho into Morgan. Morgan into Ollie. Ollie's in the box. His shot blocked. Cody Gakpo down the left-hand side into Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz. Cody Gakpo, was he onside? He was. McAllister now. Kirks. Wirtz. Kirks. Back to Florian. Florian into Gravenberg. Gravenberg back to Florian. Are Liverpool ever going to do anything with it? Nearly trying to find Cody Gakpo. I wasn't paying attention. Liverpool strike first. Cody Gakpo found Ekitike. Ekitike found McAllister. And McAllister just blasted into the back of net. And Liverpool strike first here. Corner, Luca Digne puts it into the box. Konate hits it straight down to his keeper. And that was more than likely halftime. 45 minutes away from Liverpool being into the semis. Morgan Rogers down the left-hand side, trying to get something going for Villa. Buendia, Douglas Luiz, Buendia, Morgan Rogers, cross comes in, keeper should collect it, he does. Buendia, Lucas Digne, cross comes in, Onana off target. Sojablai now, down the right-hand side, Sojablai, Gravenberg, Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, Liverpool double the lead, and that is more than likely Aston Villa done and dusted, and Liverpool are into the semifinals unless they capitulate in these last 17 minutes. Cash, Onana, Douglas Luiz, you kind of have to score now. You can't keep going back. Buendia, Onana, Douglas Luiz, Buendia intercepted, and that is probably that done and dusted. And that is done. Liverpool are into the semifinals. They take down Aston Villa 2-0. And more than likely now the favorites continue to go on. Is Chelsea versus Preston North End. Will Preston cause an upset? No. Dominant fashion for Chelsea. And they are into the semifinals as well. And that confirms it. We will have an all Premier League semifinals because the other last matchup is Man United versus Bournemouth. Manchester United versus Bournemouth. Will United keep going on? Yes, they will. Bruno Fernandes and Brian Mbeumo will continue to march on here. And Manchester United are into the Final Four as well. They have a trip against Chelsea. And so your top four are Brentford, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester United. Liverpool are more than likely your favorites here to win the entirety of this video. We're going to quick sim that game. We'll watch Chelsea versus Man United. In fact, we'll actually watch Chelsea Man United first, and then Brentford Liverpool, and then we'll watch the final. So let's get into it. 4 teams remain. Only 2 will come out on top. And only 2 will prevail from this round. Only 1 will come out on top. And so here we go. Manchester United versus Chelsea. A trip to the final is on the line. It's a Big 6 matchup. Manchester United versus Chelsea. Cole Palmer, Enzo, Cucurella. That's a great ball into Joao Pedro if he can get there. And Joao Pedro, that's a great back-to-back heel. And the cross, Harry Maguire intercepted. Chelsea nearly had the golden opportunity to take the lead. Garnacho, Cucurella, Enzo, Garnacho, Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, Neto, Palmer intercepted by Kobe Mainoo. Amad Diallo, Diallo into Mbeumo, and Brian Mbeumo into Luke Shaw. And Luke Shaw in the box for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes into Mainoo. Mainoo into Casemiro. Cole Palmer now. Caicedo. Caicedo out wide for Neto. Neto back to Caicedo. Caicedo into Joao Pedro. Out wide for Neto. Neto into Caicedo. Caicedo into Enzo. Enzo into Cucurella. Now Cole Palmer intercepted. Amad Diallo into Dalot. And Dalot now. Cross comes in. Brian Mbeumo could be there first. And Sanchez denies the header from Mbeumo. It's a corner for Manchester United as they make a sub here. It will be crossed in by Bruno Fernandes, headed away by Moises Caicedo. Reece James will now have it on a possible counterattack here for Chelsea, but it's a no one there for Chelsea. Caicedo, Neto, Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer, Reece James into space. Reece James, now what can you do with the ball? Slows things down. Back to Joao Pedro, back to Reece James. Neto, Pedro, Reece, Neto, Joao Pedro. That's a great crest back. Joao Pedro on his left foot, and Joao Pedro will strike first. Chelsea 1, Manchester United 0, and the Brazilian will get the breakaway goal, and Chelsea lead 1-0. And Buemu, Brian backheels for Ahmed. Cross comes in. Chaloba deals with it. Cucurella finds Sanchez. Sanchez clears it. It's not the greatest of clearance. It'll fall for Mazraoui, who will fall for Enzo. And Chelsea will retain possession of the ball now. And Chelsea looking to possibly get out wide. Cucurella now. In for Garnacho. In Garnacho. Into Bruno. Not Bruno Fernandes. Enzo Fernandez. Caicedo. Enzo. Cole Palmer. I mean, the game might be over, but a second will definitely secure it for Chelsea. I have a feeling this could be it for Manchester United. They have to go, and they have to go now. And they're only going backwards. I mean, they are simply not doing anything with the ball. They have now just started to attack it. They want the last attack of the game, and they want it to be a goal. And, well, they have milliseconds to get the ball up the field. Any more backward passes, the referee will blow the whistle, and he does blow the whistle. Chelsea are your first team into the finals, taking down Manchester United 1-0. They'll be taking on either Brentford or Liverpool. And so who will be the other finalists? Will it be Brentford or will it be the favored Liverpool? It will be Liverpool. Mohamed Salah putting the club on his back one last time. It's Liverpool taking down Brentford, which means we have our final. Liverpool versus Chelsea. Two Premier League side teams taking it on each other to determine the best of the 92. And well, it's two Premier League teams that didn't win the league. And well, to be fair to them, Liverpool had a better season than Chelsea. But Chelsea definitely are capable of winning this. It will come out who will be the top. Will it be Liverpool or will it be Chelsea?
Contention to win silverware. Who's it going to be on this?
And so the final, it comes down to these two top six sides, Liverpool versus Chelsea, both not having the seasons they wanted. More specifically, possibly Chelsea over Liverpool. Liverpool did not defend their title at all. They did not even put up a singular fight for their title this season in the Premier League. Arsenal fought with Manchester City and themselves, to be honest. And well, Arsenal came on top, but they struggled down in this video on the later ends. And so Liverpool versus Chelsea. And to be completely honest, on paper, on the game, I'd actually probably favor Liverpool over Arsenal in whatever weird way. I just think it would happen. But here we go. It's Liverpool versus Chelsea. I expect Liverpool to win this, but anything is possible. Dominic Szoboszlai into Hugo Ekitike, already in the box. Salah, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, back to Gravenberch. He had to pass to Hugo Ekitike. Szoboszlai, Cody Gakpo. He turns, he shoots, he does not score. Cody Gakpo, the golden chance to take the lead in the first 7 minutes. Denied by his lack of skill. Enzo, Garnacho, Cole Palmer, Chelsea starting to come to life here. 20 minutes in. Garnacho's going to get the ball after a poor passage of play. He'll find Joao Pedro, and that's intercepted by Dominic Szoboszlai. Garnacho down the left-hand side, and he just carries it out of play. And halftime, 0-0 here. I would say the edge to Liverpool, but maybe not. Joao Pedro, Szoboszlai puts a foot into it. Cole Palmer with the worst cross you might ever see with 20 minutes left to go.
Caicedo.
Chaloba, Enzo, Caicedo, Joao Pedro out wide for Neto. Was he onside? He was. Pedro Neto, cross comes in. Konate heads it down. And Liverpool will get rid of that danger. 8 minutes left to go now. We could be heading to extra time here, or will there be a late winner for either side? I give the edge to Chelsea at the moment. McAllister, Konate, maybe slowing things down enough to give them that one last chance here. Kirkes.
1 minute here.
Cole Palmer, and it will be going extra time. 0-0 at the 90 minutes.
Well, that's it for the 90 minutes.
Joao Pedro, Garnacho. Garnacho, Enzo, Joao Pedro, Cucurella, Enzo, Cucurella, Enzo, Cucurella, Joao Pedro, Cucurella, Garnacho, Cucurella, Enzo, Enzo into Joao Pedro, now Cucurella, Cucurella, Garnacho straight to the keeper. Enzo, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer now. Garnacho, Cole Palmer, Garnacho, Cucurella, intercepted by Ryan Gramber. We're really going to a penalty shootout. Solskjaer, Gravenberg, Rio Ingamoa, McAllister. Last chance for either side here. Which one will prevail? Or will go to a penalty shootout? I'm telling you now, it's going to a penalty shootout because they're not moving the ball up the field at all. And so, a penalty shootout to determine the best of 92 clubs of English coming down up to a penalty shootout. And so, this is just the best camera angle. Actually, I guess this is kind of the best camera angle that we can see. It's Cole Palmer up first for Chelsea. He finds the top left advantage. Blues. Alex McAllister now has to score. They have to go toe for toe with Chelsea. Oh my Lord! McAllister sent that to China. Not really. He sent it all the way out nearly for the corner flag. Joao Pedro and Allison makes up a massive save and could put this back to square one with Dominic Solskjaer. If he can score his, he does. Bottom right. Dominic Solskjaer level things up here for Liverpool. One apiece, one missed. Enzo Fernandez, Allison, back-to-back saves. And now Liverpool have a chance here to take the advantage. It's Cody Gakpo. Will he find the back of the net? Down the middle. Sanchez went right, couldn't save it. Reece James now the captain for Chelsea. Will he score? Will Allison make it 3 saves? No, he will not. Reece James draw things level, but it's still advantage Liverpool, especially if Hugo Ekitike can score this, which he does. Mid to top right, finds the back of the net. Liverpool have the lead here. Chelsea must score to stay alive. Pedro Neto, if Allison saves or Neto misses, Liverpool are the best of 92. Neto, saved by Allison. 3 saves for Allison. The old Brazilian still has it. And Liverpool are your champions of not just the Premier League, of the entirety of England. They take down Chelsea to win it, the best of 92. It's a team who finished 5th in the Premier League. And Liverpool are your champions. They finish in that top spot. They are your victors. That will be it. If you want me to see this, do this with the teams in France, the teams in Spain, the teams in Germany, the teams in Italy, let me know and I will. I might just do it anyway because this is honestly a lot of fun, especially with this kind of being the longest one that we could possibly do because this is the most teams in across these leagues. Obviously, we have the Bundesliga. Germany will be the next hardest because they have 3 different leagues there as well. But for me, that's it done today. Until then, leave a like, subscribe, and peace out.
Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life.